name's Caroline Victor and I teach ESOL at City Lit. I want to talk about a new method of teaching that we are trialling called ACT ESOL, and in particular the forum theatre part of the activity. I trialled this with a group of about 10 entry through to level 1 ESOL students who are largely in work in the retail sector, and were attending a course called Communicating at Work related to customer care. It is that you start with a series of drama-based games to encourage trust between the students, having removed all furniture from the classroom so you have an open space. The teacher gets involved in the activities rather than having a traditional teacher role. The games worked well on both occasions. The students enjoyed them. The idea would be that as you did more of these, you could incorporate various ways to practice language. Whereas initially they were either without any sound or just with sounds rather than with words. The main part of the activity, which is called forum theatre, the students are put into groups of 3 or 4 and told to think of a time in which someone was rude to them, and this could be during their working life or day-to-day life. The groups then tell each other the experiences that happened to them. The teacher goes round checking that each group is working, has got enough to say, and everyone is listening, and it's the right kind of activity that could then be used as part of the forum theatre process. Each group then chooses one of those situations and starts practicing in their small group. The teacher, who is given the role of joker, comes round to check and ask key questions: when it happened, where, who was the person who had the problem, and if any props are needed, then, for example, if the activity takes place in a car, then chairs are used, and the group would set up the props that they needed. Once the groups have had enough practice time, the floor is then given over to them to perform the short piece with the audience facing them, the audience being the teacher and the rest of the students. The activity, the small scenario, is acted out, and at a key point, probably of confrontation, the teacher stroke joker shouts "freeze." At this point, the joker then asks key questions such as who had the problem, what did the different participants do to try and resolve it, and elicits suggestions from the rest of the audience as to how they could have dealt with it in a different way in order to resolve the situation. Students come up with ideas which can then be put on the board for future reference. The scene is then started again from the beginning, and at any point one of the audience, another student member, can come in and take over, either to be a new character or to take the part of one of the existing characters with a suggestion of how they would deal with the situation. The idea is that a prop is used, for example a scarf, and when a student takes the scarf, then they are going to become the one of the other characters. This continues until the situation is resolved. Feedback can then be done either after each little scenario, or as a plenary at the end of the 3 groups. And this was also filmed with feedback from the students as to why the different characters acted in the way they did, what could have been the underlying problems, how the situation was sorted out, different ways it could have been resolved, and so on. And this can also be a vehicle for revising language such as adjectives, or making complaints, or whatever you want to particularly focus on, and that could be done in a follow-up lesson or for homework. I was slightly unsure as to how this would work, as it was a new way of teaching for me, although I had done some work with drama and ESOL before. However, the students on both occasions were extremely enthusiastic and got involved straight away, including those who appeared to be on the quiet and reserved side. The feedback after was that it'd been great fun and they really enjoyed it, and it had helped a lot with their confidence. My general feeling, having done 2 sessions like this, is that the first one worked, the acting part of it worked better, the form and theatre, because the situation in which you say, think of a time when someone was rude to you, lends itself better to this method because there's more confrontation, and I felt that that was a more genuine response. The second time I needed a different topic and suggested a time where there had been a misunderstanding. This also worked quite well, but one of the situations the students resolved themselves, so it could not be formed properly. But these were still good ideas and situations which had happened to the students and therefore relevant. And one in particular focused on misunderstandings in language, which they'd experienced a lot. So I think they both worked well, but potentially the first idea was a better one. The quieter students, or those with who were less confident or whose English was less fluent, slightly to my surprise, got very involved. And one in particular, in the second filming, said that whereas before when she went to the doctor, she'll be so concerned with translating in her head what the doctor had asked, that when it came to speaking she couldn't do it, she got very flustered. Whereas now she feels confident that she can go and express herself in a variety of situations. And I said, do you think that this course has helped, and the last few weeks doing this particular kind of acting these scenes has helped at all? And she said definitely. And the course is only 7 weeks, so that gave me confidence that it would be something that could be incorporated into a longer course and be beneficial. So those are my initial thoughts on how it went. We are very early stages in introducing this as a method of teaching, and obviously one would have to work out how often the forum theatre could be used. I definitely see lots of benefit in using it to help with speaking and listening practice in preparation for an exam. But in general terms of giving the students confidence, which is one of the key things that we're aiming at in our teaching, I think there are no downsides really. It would work very well, and I look forward to experimenting with this more in the future.